Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me on this beautiful spring afternoon. The weather's gorgeous. There's a nice breeze blowing here in this park in my city. I love coming out here. I've recorded one other video here. I'll probably do a few more. This is a really nice spot. Anyway, I wanted to welcome you to my new or newly rebranded channel, Empathic Ecologist. For those of you who are my current subscribers or who have caught some videos on my channel over the first 2 months of its existence, you will know that it used to be called Five-ishness. That title's hard to say, which is one reason among several that I have decided to rebrand and rename. But let me take a moment, for those of you who are brand new to my channel, to explain what Five-ishness meant to me. I'm an Enneagram 5. For those of you who do not know what the Enneagram is, it is a personality test. I've learned about it from several sources, but the one that has been most helpful to me is the Enneagram Institute. And on the Enneagram Institute, they have a list of all 9 primary types. I am number 5, which is the investigator. And the Enneagram, it gives I'd say maybe 1 to 2 page description of that type. It talks about its basic characteristics as expressed in humans that display them, as well as, and this is what I really like about the Enneagram, it doesn't just say, oh, you're a 5, you're an investigator, and that's all you are. It talks about when you're in a healthier state of mind and body, it shows that you actually move towards one of the other types. So for a 5, I'm very intense, I'm very cerebral, analytical. I like to solve problems and think about things in my mind in more abstract ways. I like to bounce ideas around and analyze them. Traditionally, I've not been as comfortable in my physical body, and there's a lot of reasons for that. It's not just because that's my personality type, but I am trying, and have been trying over the last year, to get out in nature more, as you see here now, and to get more in my body, if you will, and experience the world beyond the confines of just my left hemisphere of my brain and my prefrontal cortex. I want to experience the fuller picture of nature and of the world around me. So when I'm healthier, I move towards an 8, which an 8 is known as the challenger. So that means I am more apt to want to take a leadership position or a position of influence. I'm more apt to use my desire to investigate and understand the world as a means to challenge other people to better themselves or to better care for themselves and others around them, as well as other creatures around them, not just humans, but animals, our environment. And that's where I'm trying to live and be more often now. It's like using that desire I have naturally to investigate and to understand, to benefit humankind, as well as animal kind, which we are an animal, but the other animals and all the living things in our ecosystem. So, getting to the new title, Empathic Ecologist. So I'll start with empathic. As you might guess from that moniker, empathic means relating to empathy. And empathy is a core value of mine. And it's something that our body naturally does. Your average human has a natural capacity for empathy, which means you can literally feel someone else's emotional state. It's almost as if their emotions, whatever that is, whether it's happiness or pain or giddiness, what have you, anger, like it's like it reverberates in your own body, and the same parts of your brain that would light up if you were angry or if you were sad or if you were joyful or effervescent, whatever, will light up in your brain. Yes, to a lesser extent than they are in the person that you're observing, wherever that person is, whether they're in a TV show, a movie, whether they're standing right in front of you, whatever the case. Our bodies, for the average human, there are some who are born with less, sadly. Some of them become sociopaths or psychopaths. I won't go down that rabbit trail right now, but for your average human, we have a natural capacity for empathy. But like many of our other natural abilities, many of the other features of our physiology, if you will, if we want to increase our empathy, we have to exercise it. We have to practice. We have to put it to use. We have to engage with it. I'll give you an example of what that means for me. I'm putting a plug in for National Public Radio, or NPR. I enjoy listening to NPR. I don't agree with everything that they say on there, but that's going to be true with whatever radio station I listen to or whatever podcast program I listen to. I don't have to agree with everything someone says to value what they have to say and to learn from them. And NPR, one of the things they are really good at is telling people's stories, and not just the stories of people who may agree with the host's political viewpoints, but people from the other side of the political spectrum, if you will, or people who have a different sexual orientation than they do, or people who are from a different culture or a different religion. They're really good at telling people's stories and letting them tell their stories and then telling other stories in engaging ways, and particularly those whose stories are often neglected by the general populace. So they're really good at that. And in listening to NPR and programs that are connected to them, that's helped me just learn a lot about humanity. Another plug, one of my favorite TV shows growing up and still is Star Trek: The Next Generation. Woo, Trekkies. I don't consider myself a hardcore Trekkie. I can't roll off a bunch of quotes and inane details from Star Trek, but I have enjoyed it, and it has meant a lot to me. I think, as is true for most people, I think my two favorite characters are Picard and Data. I think in them, you really, throughout the course of the series as well as the movies, to some degree, you're exploring what it means to be human in so many ways. Data as an artificial life form who longs to be human, Pinocchio, if you will, is asking questions constantly and trying to understand, and he's trying out experiments, and he's trying new experiences, trying to understand what it means to be human, and that allows other humans on the crew with him, such as Picard, to then have conversations with him about what it means to be human. So that's something I want to explore on this journey, and I want to engage my empathy for other people, my empathetic responses to other people. I want to endeavor to understand other people's perspectives, where they're coming from. I want to understand human nature. I want to understand our psychology. I want to better understand myself as well as those I care about, which extends to all humans to some degree. But I only have so much time and energy. So my immediate family, I have a wife and 3 kids, 3 beautiful daughters. I love being a dad. I love being a husband. It's hard work, but it's worth it. I attempt to devote the majority of my time and energy to them, outside of my work, of course, which is also ultimately for them in many ways. But then I hope to also create a better world for my kids to live in, and that's part of the reason I started this YouTube channel. So that's empathy, and moving to ecology. Ecology, or being an ecologist, it's just someone who studies the way that living things interact with their environment. So living or biotic organisms interact with abiotic or non-living, I don't know if organism is even the right word, but materials, like how I as a human might interact with a rock. I just threw that rock, and it just stirred up a bunch of fish in the creek next to me. So that's a very simple, very simplistic example of interactions in an ecosystem. Like this environment around me is its own ecosystem. I'm standing on the dry bed of a creek. The creek is not full right now. It hasn't rained enough, but if you look, you will see some water, so it's coming through, and there's a flow. There's some small fish in the creek. I've seen some turtles from time to time out here as well. You can hear the birds and the trees around me. There's not very many big animals around here. This is a park that's inside of city limits where I live. I've never seen a bear here. I don't anticipate seeing a bear. But deer are an animal that you see frequently in my city. Sometimes just wandering around, crossing the roads. So maybe one day while I'm doing a video, one of them will come up and pay me a visit. That would be really cool. Anyway, this is an ecosystem. So right now I'm interacting with it. I'm standing here on the soil. You know, I know there's all kinds of living things down here in the dirt. There could be worms down there, bacteria, insects, all kinds of fun stuff. You know, the wind is blowing against me. There's a sense in which air is, I guess, what you call, I don't know if air is officially classified as inorganic. I suppose it is. It's a gas that's interacting with my body. It's blowing the hairs on my skin, which is, you know, sending information from my nerves to my brain. I feel the coolness. You know, it's just, I could go all day. So that kind of stuff fascinates me. I want to understand better how living organisms, humans included, and obviously I am a human, so a lot of my focus in the channel is going to be about how humans interact with other humans, you know, ethics, you know, that's going to be a focus from time to time, religion, anthropology, psychology, neuroscience, you know, I'm going to jump into some of those things. Politics, because that has a lot to do with how we as humans interact with one another, trade, culture, cultural transmission, all kinds of cool stuff like that. If you're a nerd like me, those things fascinate you, and you know. But also, something I think that is very important is for us humans, because of our amazing capacity for tool making and our large brains, our ability to cooperate on large group projects, we have reshaped this planet and had a tremendous impact, perhaps more than, I would say, more than any other mammalian species. We've had a tremendous impact on this planet, and that has often not been a positive impact. You know, and we've slowly been realizing some of the damage that we have done, often unintentionally, but the more we become aware of it, and scientists, and I'm not a professional ecologist, but there are ecologists out there who study this for a living, as well as biologists and zoologists and climatologists and geologists. I mean, I'll probably jump on a lot of that stuff because I am a science enthusiast. I love learning about science. I have since I was a kid. I used to want to be a science teacher. I'm almost 40 now, so I don't know if that dream's going to come to pass. But I do want to share it with my kids, and now through this channel, I'll share a little bit about what I'm learning with you. So, Empathic Ecologist, welcome to my channel. Are you ready? Let's go.